You have wisely chosen to listen to the shittiest movie podcast in the land. Welcome to Let's Talk Movies.
I guess.
Alright, welcome back to Let's Talk Movies, I guess, if you're joining us for a second time, and if you're not...
I guess. A second time?
I said welcome back, John. You don't welcome someone back to something they've been to for the first time. Anyway.
What about if it's their third time?
Then welcome back, John.
Oh, I get the logic now.
If you're struggling this hard today, I really don't look forward to talking about today's movie with you. But
that thing was an epic. It was a masterpiece. What are you talking about?
And I won't necessarily disagree with you, but we're here to talk about it. So that's my very intrusive co-host, John, and I am Matt.
Oh, wait, hold on.
A pleasure to meet any of you for the first time if you're just now joining us, and welcome back to anyone who's heard one of our god-awful episodes before.
So anyone listening right now knows what this episode's about, so we're not going to announce it yet. We're going to talk about a little bit about our week first.
Okay,
and
sure.
Then we'll talk about our listeners' weeks. So don't worry, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But first, what have you been watching? I know we discussed in our last episode what movies you've been watching, but have you been watching any TV lately?
Yeah, I was going to say let's transition then to Let's Talk TV and Let's Talk YouTube, I guess.
I guess.
For Let's Talk TV, I kind of dipped a toe into watching some Supergirl, and I'm pretty impressed. Like, I think they're handling that character pretty well.
So the first episode was solid.
Yeah, not bad at all.
And like for a family-friendly superhero show, it was pretty entertaining.
Something that they're doing is retconning Jimmy Olsen a little bit and making him James Olsen, and he's like this tall, kind of pretty charming black dude. And I'm like, yeah, I like this. Like, I don't know, that character's been too nerdy for like a really long time, and like, I think like he could add more to the DC universe. And as that character is like his reimagining, he's doing a lot more.
Very cool. Anything else?
I think casting for that's really great. They have Ally McBeal playing Supergirl's boss, which I haven't seen her.
Ally McBeal.
I haven't seen her in anything for a long time, so that was kind of cool. And then like whoever's playing Supergirl, I haven't really checked out who she is or what her acting credits are, but I think that's kind of cool. Kind of almost like a nod back to like the Dick Donner Superman of Christopher Reeve being like basically nobody. Yeah, like and like the fact that I haven't seen her in 100 other things make me think like, oh, it's cool. She's kind of like Christopher Reeve.
Just a regular person.
And like she is really super cute as Kara and
I will not disagree with that.
And she's definitely like appropriately nerdy, kind of Clark Kent vibe as like the nerdy version of her. So yeah, I've been watching that. I've been delighted with it, I suppose. Like I'm not too far into it, like only a couple episodes, but yeah, it's probably something I'll try and get caught up on.
Nice. I've been watching a lot of documentaries.
Okay.
Like National Geographic stuff. Bigger, Biggest, and one called Food Factory.
No Ken Burns baseball?
No, I've got that on Plex, but I haven't really gotten around to that yet. His stuff is very good, but it's very dry.
Yeah, it's like watching golf.
Without the commentary.
Yeah, exactly. It's not to say that it's still like, good.
This is the most epic golf game of all time and no commentary, and you have to watch everything, every single shot.
I think his writing is good and everything, like, but I don't know, it's just like him covering baseball, like, it's not my favorite sport, I guess. Like, it's a lot of people's, but I got like at least halfway through it, and it wasn't for sure like the worst thing I'd ever watched, but
you watched that recently? I
watched half of it, and I think the thing is, like, I've been going through a lot of personal stuff, and like, so like my attention's all over the place, and you can't watch that documentary where you're like not paying close attention to it and think anything of it besides like, this seems pretty boring.
Yeah, it's normally boring, but when you're going through some stuff,
yeah, it's just
extra boring
for sure.
So aside from the documentaries, I've also been watching a show called Plebs. It's a British show. It's about life in Rome, but it's comedy. It's kind of like whatever that type of comedy is. What's that show?
Dry comedy.
Yeah,
British comedy.
What's that? The Knights of the Round Table.
Monty Python.
Monty Python-esque ish, kind of. Have you watched that yet?
No, you've been nagging me to.
Yeah, I've been nagging you harder than you've been nagging me to watch Silicon Valley.
I love that I used the word nagging, and I could have used any much nicer word there. Like, but yeah, you've been cajoling me. Is that even the right usage of that word? Sure. Into watching that, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Well, it's pretty funny. I think you'll like it.
Okay, and you'd like Silicon Valley, so.
And I've been watching a little bit of Private Practice, but not by choice. It's just if I want to hang out with my wife, I get to.
It ends up being on the TV.
Practice.
Yeah.
So it's great if you're into the Dr. McDreamy's ex-wife.
Yeah.
But there's only so much of her you can take.
Those shows.
That point.
I'm so past medical dramas. Really, like the only one that's tolerable to me at all is Scrubs, and that's just because it's more comedy, I think, than drama anyway.
What about House?
I never got into House really that much either, but again, like there's like a big helping of comedy for all the drama too.
In House, absolutely. Very, very dry. So that's what makes it very enjoyable to me.
Well, I mean, it's from sketch comedy legend Hugh Laurie. So.
Yeah, no sarcasm. He is a sketch comedy legend.
He does a bit of Fry and Laurie, right?
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff.
So yeah, he's a more interesting person than just being Dr. House for sure.
Those guys, I haven't really watched much of Fry and Laurie. I've been getting into Mitchell and Webb lately. I've been into them for years, but they have a radio show I've been listening to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called the Mitchell and Webb Sound. It's really funny. Sketch radio.
A radio sketch. That's really funny.
Oh gosh, extremely funny.
One of the best. Okay, so one of the best, like really obscure sketches they do is about these three multi-billionaire brothers who keep trying to give away yachts over the phone. Have you seen that one?
Yes, and like nobody will take it seriously.
So they keep calling with like these super terrible robotic sounding telemarketing voices, being like, "Hello, you have won a free yacht," and like they can't understand why people don't take them seriously in their offer.
It's really funny.
And that's pretty much the whole gag, but it's really funny to watch.
And there's another one where somebody he's like downtrodden and kind of a doormat, and he summons a genie who gives him a fife that can make people tell the truth. And he uses that to he uses it for evil, even though he's told not to. He gets this boss to admit personal things and then uses that over this boss's head to get a raise. And it all comes to a head when he tries to threaten somebody and the other person pulls out a tuba that makes him shit himself.
I couldn't remember exactly how it ends, but I knew it was something even worse than having to tell the truth.
Well, he had the Pied Piper. He played for the Pied Piper, and the Pied Piper had to admit that he was like a pedophile. Oh. So the Pied Piper got his revenge by giving someone else the tuba that made the original.
Well, if you like humor at the expense of the Pied Piper, you should watch Silicon Valley.
That's quite the segue.
Yeah, well, anyway, anything else you're watching on TV? Anything else you're listening to?
No.
Okay, great, because we've got a piece of cinematic masterpiece, like you were saying.
A piece of cinematic masterpiece. Is that your final statement?
Yes, that was the script hard copy for this show that we really plan out.
My bad, I didn't mean to sabotage you there.
Oh, that's okay.
Fix that teleprompter.
So it's. It's the movie's called Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. But I'm wondering, why didn't they call the original Silent but Deadly Night?
Ooh. And also, why not Silent but Night, Deadlier Night for the second one?
Yeah,
why did they do the Part 2 thing?
Part 2?
It's just nothing for me.
Yeah, well, like, that's not even, so it's not even, well, okay.
Or Silenter.
Hold on, because maybe this makes sense as to why this movie's called Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. Because it's not really an actual sequel, right? I mean, like, not direct. It's supposed to be. It is and it isn't. Like, so it should be.
An intention and a name, but not an actuality.
Right. And I think we'll probably end up getting into that. So the format we're taking for this show, John posed the question to me basically or just said, all right, let's put together a list of the top 5 most ridiculous things about this movie. And there are a lot of them. So
and I don't know if we'll get into that list right away, because I think we had to set for those of the listeners who haven't.
Okay, let's do a little housekeeping here, and let's take a few notes. John, I think you've got some material there that you can look at, or you're kind of at least statistically researched about this movie. Maybe I've seen it more than you, but you've got some facts sitting in front of you.
So basically, I have a couple trivia facts here from our friends at IMDb. They've provided them for free, which was very kind of them. I think they provide them to everyone for free, but
no, they do that special for us.
Oh, really? Oh, wow! I was misinformed.
Yeah, we've got a big deal with them apparently.
So we have some cool stats here. First of all, the movie came out in '87. Ricky, the protagonist, not protagonist, the antagonist, the primary character.
The main character.
Antagonist extraordinaire. His eyebrows move up and down 130 times.
Okay.
More on that later.
Right.
The movie was filmed in 10 days, which is a lightning fast, for most movies is very fast. The timetable for this movie is actually very slow. We'll get into that in a minute. Let's see.
It's not that you can't shoot a good movie in that time, though. Like, Rocky was shot in 28 days. So, just so you know that, John.
Yeah, and that was pretty fast.
Oh, absolutely.
This was shot in 10 movies for about 10 minutes of footage. Has gained a cult following.
Wow, these are
the
great
body
facts.
count is 22.
Okay. Like a number of people in the movie or people who die in the movie?
22 people die. And then, 22 people are shown as dying in the movie, but some of them had died in a different movie.
Right, which is something we're obviously going to get into.
And then one of the characters who played a 15-year-old, or one of the actors that played a 15-year-old character was actually 24 at the time of filming.
All right.
Which I know exactly what they're talking about. And
I'm sure it's a movie theater patron. Is that?
No, the person who played 15-year-old Ricky.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
I think at the orphanage.
No, yeah, I got you.
And then,
so he was not technically old enough to be driving that Jeep.
No.
Okay.
Well, he was.
He might have.
The actor was, because the actor was 24.
Well, yeah, but I mean, within the character in the movie, he shouldn't have been driving that Jeep unless accompanied by a supervised, under the supervision of an adult.
So here's something great. This is an actual trivia fact. One of the actors had a fierce argument with the producer and flipped him off behind somebody while on camera, so you couldn't see him getting flipped off. So that's like a non-fact to me, because there's no proof that it happened. Someone could have just made that up, and also I don't see him getting flipped off, so what's the point?
Right. Like, I mean, you don't...
Stupid fact.
We try not to discuss the movie in between the scenes here, like the movie that wasn't on the screen very often, so like... It kind of doesn't matter, Like, if I don't see him get flipped off, it doesn't matter. And even if I did, I'd be like, oh, he flipped somebody off. Like, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't necessarily put together the idea that it's like, oh, he's flipping off the director or whatever, and it wouldn't bother me.
So, Matt, can I give just like a 5,000-foot level synopsis of the movie? It would be like two sentences.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Convict is analyzed by a psychiatrist. And convict breaks out of prison and kills somebody, or kills a few people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the movie I watched.
I guess convict gets shot by police.
Right.
So that's pretty much three. That's three sentences. Could have been done in two. Could have been done in one with some semicolon, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But that's basically the movie. Now, what we were talking about earlier, though, is we can talk about this now, right?
Whatever. Yeah.
Due to creative editing. And I use creative loosely, and a low budget, the first movie in this series was used quite heavily in the second movie to kind of paint the scene. So I would say about 30 to 40 minutes of footage.
You don't have to speculate or guess. Like, we looked at it was like 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay, 40 minutes of footage was directly lifted from the first movie and just dropped into the second one to paint the picture of what the...
Well, yeah, it's at least 35 minutes of literally just the other movie. And the other 5 minutes up to that point at the 40-minute mark in this movie is basically the main character, Ricky, explaining all these different flashbacks. And then, like, he's only in it, and, like, the doctor. I would say at 40 minutes, 3 minutes of it are the black orderly and the doctor getting the recording machine set up. And then 2 minutes of Ricky, like, I don't know, like just
harassing them,
seizuring with his eyebrows, and yeah, exactly, harassing the doctor.
And he didn't look like a demented person. He looked like a demented actor trying to play a demented person and failing miserably.
Well, I mean, you're halfway through my list by now, John. So
I apologize.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to steal your thunder there. But it was definitely was not believable. I give the guy like an A+ for trying. I mean, he put his best effort into it, but the character that he played was laughable.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like the movie.
All right, so how much more housekeeping do you want to do here? Do you have some other facts in the movie, or?
No, I don't really have many facts. Just that the movie, I think you had mentioned that it was one of the few scary movies you've seen that did not scare you at all.
I'll put a caveat on that, which is like I'm kind of a fraidy cat, and like that's kind of been a joke, like kind of a long running thing on Enlightened Gamer that I don't like scary games, I don't like scary movies. Like, I guess, I mean, I still, I didn't like sleep with the lights on or anything last night, but I mean, I put on King of the Hill and fell asleep. I mean, that was the very like minimal amount that it bothered me. And I'm like, do I really think that some kind of like Santa Claus clad, psychopath is going to break through my door and try and kill me with an axe?
Answer. Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not, though. I wouldn't say no.
But I was being a little naughty before I went to bed. So, I mean, potentially.
That's pretty nice. Nice to know.
Yeah. All right. So if that's all the housekeeping I think we have, I think it might be time just to dive into our list here.
Yeah, sure.
And
I hope that, if you haven't seen the movie, just stop the podcast, go watch the movie.
Yeah, enjoy it. I think it's, especially if you have some friends who like movies that are like kind of, I mean, this is one of those cult movies that's like, cult bad.
Super campy, way too serious.
Right. I mean, like, put it in the same vein as The Room. Like, The Room is obviously like a masterclass.
Vein of its own.
Right, exactly. But like, it's that same similar idea of like, if you have friends who like to laugh at bad movies, enjoy this one with them,
and you will enjoy it.
Oh yeah, and then come back and listen to our list.
But do yourself a favor: don't watch the first one first, because this one is pretty much going to bring you up to speed.
It's like a spark.
You're just going to get pissed off if you watch the first one and then see the same fucking clips from the first one and the second one.
It's literally like half the movie, and like it's. That's one of the things that bother me about this. I think it's probably going to be in your list, so we'll just talk about it when we get there. But yeah, we'll talk about how annoying that is to me. And yeah, so what had you posed to me exactly is what the 5 most ridiculous parts of this movie?
Yeah, and just use that loosely, but just what are the 5 things that stuck out to you? And they don't really necessarily have to be in order, just kind of make them from least ridiculous to most ridiculous.
I mean, I kind of put them in order.
Okay, well, I can start.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I just discussed this. The thing that bothers me is the fact that it's 40 minutes of footage from the first movie. And one of the facts I didn't read from IMDb was that the movie's budget was only $100K, and the director had originally wanted to recut the first movie into a second movie, add a handful of scenes, and pass it off as a new movie. But,
and I still think the director probably took like embezzled $20,000 off the top.
Oh yeah,
because I don't even think I saw $100,000 go into this movie.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But they still, more than half the footage is from the first movie.
Right.
So it kind of did happen. They just didn't have the budget. They paid people, like, they had a skeleton crew, from what I read, and they paid people just terrible wages to work on this movie.
Well, I'm trying to think how many, like, actual actors are specifically just in the second one. And it's not many. Like, you have less than 7... Maybe like at or around 7 characters in the entire movie.
Probably
like
7 extras that weren't notified that they were extras.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Forms that weren't signed and faces unintentionally blurred. But yeah.
Anyhow, so that's the first. That's my number 5. It's just rehashing footage from another movie.
Well, I think so The Simpsons does this periodically, but when they do, they're really transparent about how much of a
job it is.
Yeah, like how much of a scam it is. They're self-aware clip shows where they talk about like basically they didn't have enough time to put together an actual episode. So like they put together like, oh, remember when Homer used to do this? Or here's something you probably never saw. And like they just put like unused clips and different stuff on the show, but then they like kind of almost apologize to the audience for having done it too.
It's kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos in a sense.
Yeah. So like, but I mean, Seinfeld has had these like flashback episodes and everything like that. Like, but like it's always kind of like it's a crappy thing to do in a sitcom, but like to see it in long form in a movie. And could you imagine having paid like to go see this movie in theaters?
Especially if what if you really did like the first one?
Oh yeah,
and you were a fan. You had seen it like 4 or 5 times, and then you hear this one's coming out. You go to the movie theater, and then you see the movie that you love basically played before your eyes and passed off as a movie on its own. You'd feel gypped.
Well, think about like, and whenever I'm going to see a sequel, I always watch the movie before.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
almost always like
So you
watch the
feel
movie
super
before.
jacked.
Yeah. So you'll be like, oh, I just watched this movie yesterday, and we're halfway through this movie, and it's like literally the movie I watched.
All you had to do was
yesterday.
just show up an hour late to the theater, and you would have been fine. Like, had you known that. But
I kind of want to see a supercut of this movie where like Ricky just talks about like and sets up the flashbacks, but then they don't play them, and see if it's like 40 minutes long. So I'm thinking it is.
Yeah.
So all right, that's pretty terrible. That's John's number 5. I'm gonna go with my number 5 for the most ridiculous thing in this movie. As a girl being mounted on some kind of deer head after putting on jean shorts to answer the door topless.
That was pretty funny. So she's getting funky she's getting naughty basically with this guy.
Right. Who, by the way, loses interest immediately. It basically took him from the time that she walked from the pool table they were having sex on to the front door for him to be like, all right, whatever, I'm going to start playing pool.
Yeah. Like, the felt hadn't even dried yet, and he was already playing pool. I mean, figuratively speaking.
No, I know what you mean. And apparently, yeah, exactly. The mood had already been lost in the 15 steps upstairs to go let her cat inside.
And so she's naked, or I think she's just wearing underwears. And so what does she do when she hears the door?
Oh yeah, she throws on some jean shorts.
She puts on some jean shorts. And isn't it like snowy too?
Yeah, it's definitely, you can see snow. Which is another gripe I had about this movie that I didn't make it on my list, but like it's a movie about a Santa Claus serial killer where there's like no snow in any of the scenery.
But in this scene there was some snow, I think.
I think so.
So why would you wear jean shorts? And only jean shorts, no shirt.
Again though, from the first movie.
Yeah, not even pull a blanket over your
right.
torso.
How would you? Okay, so you're married.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm kind of. And so how would you feel if your wife ran to the door without putting a shirt on after hearing a commotion?
I would not feel terribly comfortable with that. I mean, I really would question her decision making.
Yeah, and probably the part of you that's at least a little bit possessive of your wife or protective or whatever would be like, really? Like,
yeah, like, I mean, keep those things covered up.
Yeah,
it's cold out there, and
all that, and
there's creepers out there.
Bought and paid for.
It's creepos out there.
That's how John sees his wife. But I mean, to a degree, like there's some intimacy lost there. She's like, answering the door like she's an exotic dancer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's not normal.
No, I mean, I've gone through way too much. Not too much, but I've got through a lot of effort to to be with this woman, and I don't want her just like showing the goods to anyone who, even if it's just the cat at the front door.
Yeah,
just put a shawl on or a blanket or something.
No free admission to the show.
But maybe this guy is like kind of like European. He doesn't care about the top, but he wanted the bottom covered, so that's why she put on the old jean shirt.
Oh, so the guy went to Europe to kill these two people because they were being naughty?
Basically, here's what happened. They got an actress that agreed to show tits for the budget. And
not like, just one.
Yeah, both. Oh, yeah.
Not just one actress, I guess is my meaning. But
that's true. So
multiple actresses with multiple breasts.
It would be more realistic if she put some shirts on, but then all the mouth breathing men from who watch Tim
Tim Tool Time
with him
Home Improvement
wouldn't want to watch this movie, so we'll just have her go to the door topless.
I mean, yeah, I think like once I don't know, it's probably part of her contract that like, hey, we paid you this amount of money, this is how you're going to act in this movie.
$75.
We've got you for the whole day, and you don't get to put a shirt back on until we say
2 minutes of toplessness, so
right,
you can cover your butt, but not covering up the tatas.
In fact, as a director's note, I'm going to have you put on some jean shorts before answering the door.
Yeah, because that'd be just
it's kind of cold out there,
Yeah. So anyhow, that's really stupid.
Well, I mean, like the other part that bothered me is like I'm trying to think of how strong you would actually have to be to like actually mount this girl, because the way she gets killed is like he basically skewers her through some kind of deer antlers or like boar tusks or something. Like you don't really get to see what he kills her on, other than it's some kind of like mounted head and like the horns are sticking through her. So like I'm thinking you'd have to be like Hulk strong to be able to do that. And like I don't think the serial killer in that movie is supposed to be like inhumanly strong.
No, he doesn't look strong at all. He's pretty kind of wiry.
Yeah, mousy looking really. Okay.
So that was a bit silly.
Yeah. Your number 4, John?
He's not a superhuman. My number 4, maybe I'm just trying to analyze this movie too much, but the movie makes no attempts to understand mental illness or even like help you kind of understand which character has what mental illness. It's just in this movie, crazy is crazy. You have the two main characters who do the killing, and they're just crazy.
Right.
But they don't have any code. They don't have any
the psychiatrist that's sitting down with him to record isn't like, well, we've diagnosed you as being this or that. It's like, oh,
I would say
you're crazy.
Probably like a sociopath or something, or maybe
dissociative disorder.
Or narcissistic personality disorder, anything like that. Nothing, or even by or borderline personality disorder. Nothing. It's just like, what's the craziest, most idiosyncratic thing we can come up with? And that doesn't just apply to the two main characters, but also like the nun, who's clearly a sociopath,
right?
As well, but it's not that cut and dry. Like they don't really do any of their mental illness research.
Yeah, but I think that just goes to like screenwriting, and this character is whatever I need it to be. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just they're antagonists of convenience,
right?
And not really. They don't. Everything they do is convenient to the screenwriter.
I think what you're getting at is like there's literally no character development for any character in this movie.
And also, both brothers are identical, and they become the exact person that had a very disastrous effect on them,
right?
To a T. And what's really stupid is that one of them's a baby when this whole devastating, like Dexter Morgan-esque moment happens to him.
He's basically inheriting it from like stories from his older brother.
Yeah. But he becomes just as crazy as his older brother, has the same quote unquote code where it's just saying naughty before killing somebody while dressed as Santa Claus.
If someone I don't understand it, because maybe I need to go back and watch this first movie. It's like Billy, who's the killer from the first movie, just has this like naughty radar. Because back to that scene where that girl and that guy are just like in this pool table. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, he's become superhuman in a sense.
Maybe he is. Yeah, like that's his superpowers. He can detect
boner detector.
Yeah, like
he can ruin everyone's fun.
And that's another thing too. Is like besides from like the sledding scene, which is, I mean, again, kind of like over the top. You don't see a lot, I don't think, of examples of naughtiness that don't include basically people having sex.
Yeah, but I mean, to this movie's credit, I think that part of that
having sex is naughty.
No, I think to the movie's credit, a lot of that quirk was developed by the nun because he witnessed the kids having sex at the orphanage. I think they were kids. We didn't really see who it was. But then the nun bursts in and starts beating the shit out of the boy for having sex with the girl at the orphanage.
Which, I don't know. I'm not, Catholic?
Yeah, very, very much Catholic.
So, I don't know if that's how any sister would actually respond to finding two people naked in a bed together. Just go in there and
start how a mother would respond.
Start whipping at them with some belt she pulled off of
the boy's trousers.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to remember where that belt even came from. It was the kids' own.
It wasn't
trousers.
From her habit, but
right. It's so weird that those are called habits.
I know. I mean, it's so perfect for puns, though.
Yeah, it really is. Not that we use one there, but.
If you had a bad habit, it might have a belt on it, but
well, there you have it.
Yeah. Anyhow, that was pretty weak. But I think that was how they tried to set that up. They observed people getting punished. They were naughty. I think the nun said herself that was naughty.
Yeah, but I don't think you can there's no proven statistics that show you can get cancer from secondhand smoke. I kind of think it's the same thing as you can't get trauma from secondhand trauma. I don't know. I mean, I don't really see Ricky being that tortured. He's retelling all these stories about how Billy was Billy got whipped, or Billy had this or that happen to him.
And that's the thing. I see how Billy I loosely see how Billy became that monster, but I don't see how Ricky did. And Ricky became the exact same monster.
Oh, to a T,
which is stupid.
The only place that would happen would be if you need it to happen for the script of a movie.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense.
I guess so. I feel like the only groundwork they build for Ricky at all is that I had a stepdad who was really important to me, and then he died. I guess that's something that could make him go crazy, but they don't build into that very much. Or oh, the color red just makes me triggered, whatever. But it's I don't see it. They didn't pave that road enough for me to really drive down it.
It was pretty lazy writing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, what's yours?
Number 4, Ricky doesn't realize 6 shooters hold 6 bullets.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to count. To toward that scene.
Well, one in The Police Officer, one miraculous shot from like 400 feet away.
Garbage Day?
No, into the
before
first
Garbage
neighbor.
Day, yeah.
The notorious third bullet is Garbage Day.
Garbage Day!
And then something John pointed out to me, which I think probably is kind of like the director having a sense of humor, is like a Ford Pinto is driving towards him, and he shoots the car 3 times, and then the driver loses control of it, flips it, and it seems like everything's fine for a second, and then the car just erupts into flames.
And if you remember in the movie, we all know what happened with the Ford Pintos. If they got rear-ended, the fuel tank was in the back, and it would sometimes rupture and explode. But the movie Top Secret had a funny scene. I think it was Top Secret where a tank was chasing a Ford Pinto, and then the Ford Pinto jammed its brakes. The tank jammed its brakes and its tracks or whatever, and started skidding to a halt and just tapped ever so slightly the Ford Pinto, which obviously burst into flames,
exploded,
a giant fireball.
Oh man, that's really
it was pretty funny to see. I think that was a Ford Pinto.
That's a really funny movie to begin with. It's Top Secret.
Oh yeah. I believe it's Top Secret, but
yeah.
So that was pretty funny. If it wasn't a Ford Pinto, it looked like one. So I give them props for that. I think that was intentional humor.
That was probably.
That was a good $25,000
Yeah, I was about to say $1,000
of the budget. Yeah,
right so
I like how we thought of that at the same time.
That scene's pretty funny. It also doesn't paint to me the picture that this guy is like a genius serial killer either. Like, he obviously isn't paying attention to like, oh, I shot the gun 6 times. So I guess he's flying into a rage from whatever.
But of all the cars to shoot, why a Ford Pinto?
No, I mean, like, I think it goes to what you're talking about. Like, that's
I know, but. What an idiot serial killer. Just asking to get arrested.
I guess so. All right. Well, that was my number 4. I didn't have much else to say about it, but.
Yeah, well, my number 3 is the nun's address. He goes to a nun's house and to go exact his revenge, or enact his revenge. Exact.
Sure, whatever.
To go exact his revenge on this mother, this hideous woman who is
He enacted it exactingly.
Walks up to her house, and her address is 666. I thought, that's incredibly stupid. Like, first of all, no nun would want to live in a house with that address, but it was just like the laziest prop they could have put in this movie.
Right, and like the idea of it too being like, well, maybe she's a demon, or it's just like that number's scary or whatever. It's like, it's just a really dumb,
It would be one thing if it was like 9, or be like 669, and as he walks past, the screw pops out and it flips over and it becomes 666.
Right, exactly.
Maybe one thing, but first of all, I've never seen an address that's 666. I don't even think they issue street addresses that are
it's numbers. Probably like you don't see a lot of buildings with a 13th floor,
or they put their mechanicals on that floor,
or a grocery store with like a 13th aisle. Like that's where the Hallmark aisle kind of goes a lot of times or something. But like, yeah, I'm sure it's the number 666. I mean, notoriously like evil number or whatever. I'm sure that it's avoided at all costs for giving someone like 666.
Even in phone numbers, I don't think it's in phone numbers unless it's like 266-6762.
The most recent thing I've seen is 666 in that I was kind of even a little bit surprised is like Indiana's temporary driver's licenses right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the one that I've seen recently starts like 666. So like I've seen a couple of them that are both,
which is probably unintentional.
666. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like, it's just
try to avoid that like the plague.
Right. Yeah. It's like even when I saw it too, I was like, that's kind of bizarre. I don't know.
Yeah. So no nun would live at an address with 666. I just thought that was a lazy prop. So
I mean, it's just like it's unnecessary. Like, you're not adding anything to your movie by having.
And also, this guy isn't like Satan. He's not satanic. He's just crazy. So like, why would they use that number? Like, I would understand if it was like a satanically evil character.
I think there's an irony about a nun living there, but also they're painting that nun as being a bad character too.
True. So she is evil, arguably.
Right, or at least like she's just
sociopath. Because
of who she is, she kind of unintentionally formed these 2 serial killers. True. So I don't know. Like, I mean, there's an evilness to that.
I get it, but it's just so lazy.
Well, it's just dumb. Like, I mean, it's a really dumb Easter egg to even notice. Like, I never noticed it either time. I don't think. I mean, was it like on her mailbox, or like did they cut to it really quickly?
It was right by her door.
Oh, so like you're intended to see it, but it's not necessarily like
it was very much the focal point of the shot.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's so stupid then.
Yeah. All right, what's your number 3?
Okay, this one is something that must probably be in, like, I'm guessing the extended features on the DVD or something, but I'm imagining a deleted scene where someone's at Macy's like at the Macy's counter, and the customer service girl is explaining some kind of bra shortage that's been going on in the town for like the last 3 years, and how they still don't have any bras in stock.
It's true. Most of the women, all the women victims, it seemed like, and a lot of the women in general.
Well, every guy in this movie is super rapey, and then every girl in this movie, like, isn't asking for it, but also, like, none of them seem to be wearing a bra, which, like, I don't know, that's a weird thing to me.
Yeah, it's odd, unless you think that they're maybe, or you realize they're just trying to get male butts into movie chairs.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the demographic they were going for. But that's the only way.
Transparent.
That's the only way they get back their $30,000 into the black on this movie. So like, I mean, I understand it, but like, it still flies in the face of logic in terms of like, I don't know. I mean, like, okay, but what about depicting every single man in this movie as being like terrible and a pig or a serial killer? Makes men go to this movie too.
Oh yeah. Or some combination of the three.
I guess, admittedly, as a man, like, I don't think about those things until, like, after I've watched the movie, and I'm like, it's kind of messed up, like, the way in which they depict the male sex in this movie.
Well, then again, though, look at they did at the mother, the nun. She was pretty much a terrible person as well. She wasn't a pig, but she was just awful.
Yeah.
But, anyhow.
Yeah, I guess, like, I'm trying to think if there are any good characters, and like maybe the girl that Jennifer, like the girl he ends up dating, kind of for a second, like she's not really got anything. She's an unfortunate death because like basically Ricky finds out she had sex with her ex-boyfriend once in the back of like his Mustang, and then like, you know, whatever. So I don't feel like she obviously is that naughty or deserves to die or whatever, but like there's not really that many characters you look at in this movie and you're like, well, it's really sad that we lost this person.
Yeah, but he's pretty hypocritical because I think he has sex with her, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was the first time he ever had sex, and
yeah, but like if having sex is so naughty, then how come?
Right, like and
either he shouldn't have sex with her, or he should be okay with her having sex with her previous boyfriend.
Right, especially if it's not an issue of like, oh, he was raised in a Catholic monastery or whatever. So like his idea is that it's fine after marriage. Like they obviously aren't married or anything. So yeah, I guess that is kind of hypocritical. I didn't really think about that, but like. I think maybe the idea that throws him into a rage at that point is like he thought they were both virgins and she wasn't. But, I mean...
Get over it, buddy. I guess he didn't.
I don't think he's the type of character that would. I think that's kind of what they were trying to build there. Although it wasn't...
Be a lazily.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's go ahead with your number 2 then.
Number 2, I think that the gore in this movie was overly simplistic. Decapitations do not, trust me, decapitations do not occur easily with an axe.
Right.
I have nothing to back that up. I just know for a fact that just from having to kill chickens growing up, we had raised chickens. It's not easy to decapitate.
John, I don't think I understand all the traumas in your life, but
but no, like unless you're using like a bandsaw, you're not going to get a clean cut when you cut someone's head off.
No.
And there's a scene where he cuts this nun mother's head off, and then somehow puts the head back on her body and makes it so that she's sitting there, looks like she's undisturbed, but there's no blood on her habit.
Right.
And there's no, like, I don't know, sever line on her neck.
Right.
It's just so simplistic. And of course, somebody walks in the room, they shake her head falls off. Oh my god.
Ah.
There's another scene, which is actually a pretty funny scene, where he cuts off a boy who's sledding's head.
I was about to say, that's the second decapitation in the movie, though. And, like, that must be a magic axe, because the same idea, like, really no blood to speak of on, like, either the head or, like, on the body that still ends up making it down to the bottom of the hill.
I mean, unless you can swing faster than Paul Bunyan himself.
I mean, maybe these, I mean, they're brothers, so like maybe they're from this genetically abnormal, like superhuman family that like.
Yeah, but still, an axe is a wedge. You're just not gonna, no matter how fast you swing, you're not gonna get a clean cut. Axes are designed to split wood; they're not designed to cut wood.
Right.
So unless your axe is made out of bandsaw blade.
Well, and I'm thinking too that like if they come from this super strong family, like the mother probably would have put up more of a fight when she was getting raped by. The Santa Claus killer that traumatized the older brother, who would, second-handedly traumatize the younger brother.
And to further that, what was his comment when she was fighting him and he killed her?
Oh,
pretty disgusting.
Something about Santa Claus coming or something.
Or he's like, I don't want to come in a dead cold bitch or something like that.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Because I wondered what stopped him, really. Like, I know he's a little bit concerned about that kid that's getting away, but I mean, other than that, like...
I'm not concerned enough to kill him, but...
If your plan was coitus with a barely alive woman, then, like, I don't see why the kid running away would alter that, necessarily.
Yeah, well, bravo, Santa Claus. I mean, it really takes a kind of a demented mind to come up with that stuff, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean... but, like, that's... You're building... When you're making a horror movie, you're building on the idea that, like, oh my gosh, this is the most crazy left.
Yeah, like, what's the most effed up thing I can come up with? And, you know, you don't have to be a demented person to come up with that. But
that was probably as far as the writer's room got, like, pitching this movie before they were, like, already trying to make it, you know?
It's just so bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first one, because that was, again, a clip from the first movie, which takes up at least half an hour or more of this movie.
But yeah, the gore is overly simplistic.
Do you know how confused I was when, like, the first time I watched this movie, and it's about this guy named Ricky, and he's telling me all these stories about Billy? I'm like, what?
Well, I thought that the older brother, Billy, was Ricky.
Yeah, for at least the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, you're like, oh, so this is him...
Talking about his brother, not talking about himself.
Right. It's really one of those things you have to be paying close attention to.
And I was paying attention, too, which is the ridiculous thing about this.
Yeah.
But anyhow... also, to further my gore comment, there was, I think someone got shot with a pistol and went flying into, like, a trailer hitch. I can't remember exactly. Was it the cop? The cop who got shot?
Yeah, I think so. And it was, like...
stupid.
Who was it who shot him? Was that one of those flashbacks where either Ricky or Billy shot him?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, I mean, Ricky does shoot the second guy and he goes flying pretty far. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in this movie, like, I mean, obviously flies in the face of physics, but I don't know. I don't remember that scene necessarily. There is someone else who gets shot a little bit later that I'm going to be talking about a little further up on my list.
You mean on your number one?
I think so, yeah.
All right, well, go ahead with your number two.
Okay. Number two, a guy stops mid-rape to get beer and like the girl that he's raping doesn't run away. I thought that was a little strange to me. Like, this dude, okay, so it starts out and they're kind of on this date, and then she's like, yeah, okay, we're dating, but I don't have sex with you. And you're like, legitimately a pig, and like, seriously, you need to like calm it. And he just keeps going. But then, like, I don't know, I guess his raping arms get tired, and he's like, I gotta go back to the Jeep and find a beer or something. And, like, the girl has a pretty good opportunity at that point to at least, like, I don't know, button up her shirt.
Yeah, but, like, you said she's topless, right? But she just looks at him and she's like, boys will be boys.
I think she's one of the very
rapists will be rapey.
That you probably, like, if you really wanted to, like, pause the frames, I'm sure you could see her tits. But, like, she doesn't really, like, overly... Yeah. You don't see that much from her. But, like, she doesn't do anything in terms of, like...
Just, like, that she's, like, trying to force herself sexually. He's also beating the crap out of her, too.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just, like, looking at him like, oh, well, I guess, rapist's gonna rape.
I guess that's just this town that we live in where every man is completely sexually aggressive all the time.
He's the only man that I can date, so I'm just gonna wait here for him to come back. Yeah.
Unless something happens.
Well, it's actually interesting.
The rest of that scene's pretty great, too.
Yeah, which is actually my number one, and I think we need to close the door to the green room.
All right. I mean, go ahead and...
All right, so while you're doing that, I'm going to talk about my number one, which is the same scene, the continuation. The continuation of that scene. Sorry, my co-host just cracked his head into the ceiling, and it wasn't...
Yeah, funny. He's fine, by the way.
It wasn't funny at all.
Thanks for your concern.
I'm very concerned. But I'm more concerned about talking about my number one.
Way more important than my concussion. Go ahead.
Yes, actually it is. So what would you do, Matt, if you were getting the crap beaten out of you by some woman and she was like getting kind of rapey, and then she walked away, and then somebody drove over her and just crushed her, and then reversed and then drove over her again? What would your response be to the person who just did that?
Well, like, this woman isn't anyone that I've been dating or I've known previously.
Oh, well, maybe.
So, like, we have an established relationship.
I mean,
where, like,
you have picnics together. You probably, I mean, you've had the sex, You just don't.
I don't think we have had the sex actually,
Okay.
but there's been a lot of there's been conversation leading up to the fact that maybe we would.
Yeah.
And even though she's getting a little more grabby today and a little more fighty,
A little more rapey.
but we've had still, we've gone to the malt shop and we've split a malt with 2 straws a few times before.
Plus, when she walked back to get more beer, you didn't run away. You're just like, oh, I do like this person. And then you see him get run over by a Jeep and just crushed. What would your response be?
Okay, multiple times, right? And then also from underneath the Jeep, she's kind of to where you're not sure. I'm not sure if she's dead yet or not.
Like raising her hand.
Yeah, and then it falls. I guess with consideration to the fact that we've been dating, sex has been one of those things where I'm not ready for it yet, but she's been pressuring me a little bit. We still have these good memories together though, and things have been going otherwise pretty swimmingly. I'd probably just say,
and then she's murdered before your eyes.
I'd probably just say thanks to whoever ran
that seems like a logical
her
response.
Over with the Jeep.
So I guess maybe that's not a ridiculous part about this movie, but that's what she did. She sees this boyfriend guy get run over by the antagonist of the movie.
I'll defend this part of the movie to a little bit. That there's a self-preservation instinct, and that if you do see this happen, you're
nope. You're reading into it too much. But I see what you're getting at.
I think I'm trying to write.
She doesn't want to be victim number 2.
I think I'm trying to write a better movie on top of this one, and it's really just not there.
Don't run over me as well. So I'm going to thank you for killing this person in hopes that you go away, so I can then scream and try to resuscitate my boyfriend.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that was. I thought that was a bit ridiculous. He crushes a man to death, and the girlfriend's like, well, he's kind of a douche.
Right. Plus,
thanks.
He did drink more he did drink more than I appreciated.
I mean, think about a domestic dispute, where the dude's just beating the shit out of his wife, and the cops come, and the man gets violent, and he gets shot. Do you think the woman's going to go to the cop and say, thanks?
Depends how many times they've been called to the house. But
I just think at the heat of the moment, right after the bullet has torn through his body.
There's very few. I think even if I watched someone I didn't like get run over by a Jeep a few times, I wouldn't look at the person who did it and be like, thanks.
I'd be like, holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, I would still be in shock and terror.
It wasn't a cop that did either. It was just a random dude.
Some random scarf wearing.
What's going on?
15-year-old who looked kind of 24.
So no one's going to respond that way. Just thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
That was a very odd scene. I feel like they kind of wanted to make you like the guy a little because he was kind of acting like a vigilante, but it's just a weird scene.
Yeah.
Anyhow, what's your number 1?
Well, I crossed out Ricky's eyebrows, even though I think there's a lot that could be said about the choice to have this character. He really does raise and lower, just twitch his eyebrows with literally every sentence that he says in this movie. I think we're going to post a link to a YouTube video where it kind of illustrates this point for you if you don't really want to watch the whole movie, which, I mean, you should, but if you don't want to, that's fine. It just goes over all the different scenes where his eyebrow movement is just out of control. And yeah, so I don't know, I would say it was Ricky's eyebrows. Then I'm going to go with a different one here, though, and it's from the first movie, but you get to see it in this movie, too. And John kind of pointed out to me at first, and I was like, well, there are ways to explain this away and why it's not a big deal. At the same time, it's definitely a big deal. So there's a Santa Claus that's coming back to the orphanage, and you are supposed to think it's Billy, I think, and he's coming up to I don't know if it's Ricky or which kid it is from the first movie, but you think it's they've been chasing down these serial killers through town that are dressed as Santa Claus. So Santa Claus dressed character is coming towards this kid at the orphanage, and one of the police officers comes up and just yells freeze, and then puts 3 rounds through this dude immediately. So, I mean, that's at that point, first of all, why are you yelling freeze? If you're just going to shoot the dude, and then that's going to be the worst police. I mean, I don't know. That's like Ferguson 9000. But yeah, so and not only is that a problem that it happens to begin with, because there's no weapon on this Santa Claus. There's there's a somewhat present and apparent threat of danger towards one of these children, but not really. Not enough that you can just put 3 rounds into someone and shoot them dead. And then not only that, but then pretty much immediately after he shoots the dude, one of the nuns there is that was the deaf janitor. He couldn't hear you. Yeah, like, so he didn't know what was going on. And then the police officer, which John points this out to me, is like, all right, well, my bad. And like, he just keeps going. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny.
Cop's going to cop.
Well, the day's not over. I've got more Santa Clauses to shoot without asking questions.
That was pretty stupid.
Bad police work. Also, none of the sheriffs or like none of the police officers in that town seem to like they'll use the sound for their siren, but they won't use any of the lights. That's something John pointed out too, which is kind of interesting. It's almost like they're props that are unworkable.
So the toy store scene wasn't that like a assault as well that he thwarted and then he killed both people?
The toy store scene, I don't remember a cop.
He was in the back. No, he was in the back room. And wasn't there a sex about to go down? And then he killed the guy.
You're very confused. I think Billy was there.
Yes,
because that's where he's finally.
It was a flashback scene.
So he finally got a job, and the job he got was being a Santa Claus, like dressed up as a Santa Claus. And that's, I think, his first kill was like at that toy shop where, yeah, exactly. Like they're having some kind of the world's smallest like little company celebration, kind of like end of the year party or whatever. And like it's literally 5 people because it's the 2 older people that you kind of get the sense that they kind of have a relationship or they want to. And then there's the 2 younger people, which like obviously are developing a relationship. And again, the guy gets a little rapey. And
that's the thing. That's what I thought. So it was like 3 rapes in a movie. That's really...
Let me get the rape counter going out here. Hold on. So there's the Santa Claus and the mom. I mean, that's an attempted rape, technically. I guess
let's call it a sexual assault counter.
Yeah, so like there's the first sexual assault encounter within like the first 10 minutes of the first movie, but also flashback to be in the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Very disturbing film, cause a very disturbing scene because like a mother is about to get raped in front of her kids. Like, that's pretty demented stuff.
Yeah, it's messed up. Like, and I understand them pulling back from that and being like, well, I can't do it. She's too cold now.
That's pretty messed up. So I'll kill her. We'll just have him kill her instead.
Just have him, just make sure the kid sees his mom's tits.
Make sure her honkers are hanging out the whole time.
Right, and then slit her throat. And then
oh my God.
Moving on to sexual assault number 2 being that flashback in the toy store. Yeah. But then at that point, though, we're already past like, so more sex happening, which would be like at the monastery, and then again on the pool table. Okay,
not a monastery. You mean at the convent or the orphanage?
Yeah, whatever. I keep calling it a monastery. That's where like the men.
That's where the nuns go to get their sex.
From
the monks.
Jesus?
Yeah, from the monks.
No, they're all married to Jesus. That's like one of the few things I know about Catholicism.
Yeah, I know. It's if you're not a Catholic, then you can appreciate how strange that is.
I'm pretty sure, based on the other facts I know about Catholicism, it's that the men in the church don't have sex with women. So anyway, not to get into that, but
no, I'd rather not get hate mail on our 5th episode.
Whatever, it's coming anyway. So like the second one being in the toy store. So, I mean, that gets pretty aggressive, too. And the woman's kind of like, yeah, maybe don't do that, though. And then the third one being, like with the Jeep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to have my rapes to be like 1 or preferably 0 per movie I watch.
Yeah, 0. Like
0 or -1.
An average of 0.5 if it's like a series or something.
I mean, sometimes I know it's unavoidable, like Deliverance.
Trainwreck.
What?
What? There's a movie called Trainwreck, right?
Yeah, with Amy Schumer?
No, what's the other one I'm thinking of?
Trainspotting?
No, that's not it either. It's something, it's seriously called
Throw Mama from the Train.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
How to Train Your Dragon.
It was in black and white, so it was hard to tell exactly that it was rape, but isn't Throw Mama from the Train like super old?
Yeah, it's Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito and so it's Maureen O'Hara.
It's old, but it's not black and white.
Yeah, it's there's no scene like that in there.
Are you sure? When was the last time you watched it?
I don't know if my eyeball.
All right, so it's a Clive Owen and Julia Roberts movie.
They're not quite compatible.
Jennifer Aniston. Clive Owen's Jennifer Aniston. Okay, and she gets raped in it. It's kind of a big scene.
That's awkward.
I don't remember what it's. Maybe it's something. I swear, Train's part of it, or like maybe it's called Railroaded or something. I don't remember.
Oh my God, that's exactly what it's called.
Totally.
But generally, it's a disturbing subject matter, not something to be taken lightly. And then this movie has 3 of them.
3, yeah.
Which not only does it have 3 of them, but it picked up 2 rapes from a previous movie and just put him in this movie for fun.
Here's my problem with this too. So like Batman watches his parents get killed in Crime Alley, becomes a crime-fighting vigilante, and there are 2 people who could be influenced either positively or negatively by what happens to their mom and dad in this movie, kind of in a way that's similar to Batman's story. And both of them decide to become a serial killer who dresses up in a Santa Claus outfit.
And I could see this being more likely, more realistic if like they just sought out people wearing Santa Claus costumes and killed them.
Right, that makes a lot more sense to me. Like,
and that would be scary too. Like you see like a movie where like loving fathers who are picking up a couple extra bucks at the weekend at the local mall are getting gunned down. I mean, that's kind of disturbing.
I mean, you could, or it doesn't always have to be that. It could be like a Billy Bob Thornton Bad Santa kind of thing.
I mean, that'd be kind of a good thing because he's kind of a terrible.
Well, yeah. Why does he have to be a terrible character? I would definitely watch a movie about a person who kills Santa Clauses, like based on like
their character.
Yeah, like if it's a superhero type, like a Batman type character that specifically targets Santa Clauses.
You know what's funny about that?
And then you get to be like naughty and then kill him. Like that's awesome. If you're not dressed as Santa Claus, but you're killing a Santa Claus, that's a great line to deliver. Is like, oh, you've been naughty, yeah.
And if you spare their life, you say nice,
nice.
So it's funny you bring up Bad Santa. That's like the only movie I've watched where I felt like I needed to take a shower afterward.
Oh, really?
It was just so. I wouldn't use the word filthy, but like him. Oh, sorry. I thought I heard a noise. Him in a changing room having anal sex and just like with this chick he met at the mall and then telling this kid about it. Like it just felt weird.
I haven't seen it, so there's your gasp moment for this week in terms of a guy who has a movie podcast who hasn't seen movies. But
it was kind of gross.
The most recent Billy Bob Thornton movie I've watched is Sling Blade. And I thought it was going to be a lot funnier than it was. And I know it's not aiming for funny, but I knew the character was like, I like them French fried potatoes. Mm-hmm.
Did you watch No Country for Old Men thinking it was going to be funny as well?
No.
Because he's in that movie as well.
Billy Bob Thornton or Sling Blade?
Billy Bob Thornton.
As Sling Blade?
No, as a cop.
Well, no, I don't care then. Like, there are lots of Billy Bob Thornton movies out there, but not
the serious role.
There's not a lot of them where he plays like an idiot who's like, I like French fried potatoes. Mm-hmm.
I like them French fried potatoes.
I thought that seemed like a funny thing, and I was like, I want to see this movie.
I'm telling you about different types of blades.
It wasn't a bad movie either, honestly, but like it just wasn't. It wasn't anything like I thought it was going to be. I thought it was like about a serial killer, and it's not. It's about like this kind of simple-minded idiot who like ends up killing one dude, and there's your movie.
The thing about Bad Santa is it's pretty much a kid's movie as far as plot and writing goes, but then they just put a bunch of adult shit in it. And it made
Does it feel shoehorned, or is
yes,
it like, okay.
and it felt like a lot of the dirty stuff they put into it was just for the sake of trying to attract that older demographic. But I didn't like it.
Yeah,
and I'm not overly sensitive. I like a good inappropriate movie. Like I thought Borat was hilarious,
right? But like, there's something about inappropriate for the sake of inappropriate that makes it less fun.
And then when you have Borat and his manager having a naked wrestling fight.
But you go into that movie knowing this is going to be 90 minutes of cringe, not like 45 minutes of heartwarming and 45 minutes of like
cringe. Of Billy Bob Thornton having anal sex with a woman in a changing room.
Right. So,
which is an uncomfortable scene.
Is it? I haven't seen the movie. I've never really had any interest in seeing the movie.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, I'm cool.
You don't need to see it.
I know he's been in other good things. Like Billy Bob Thornton can be a good actor. But
I think he's a great actor. I just think he's in some weird movies.
Yeah, it's just like kind of one of those weird one-offs where, I don't know, like actors do that all the time.
It's this phenomenon called needing to get paid.
Yeah. That's what takes actors like Robin Williams from doing like Good Will Hunting to like playing the genie in Aladdin.
He's done some really weird stuff. Like Mort and Mindy, right?
Mork and Mindy where I think he really gets his start. That was back in like the 70s.
Flubber, though. God.
But I think we should do... I mean, I haven't even seen this movie yet, but I've heard good things, and I'm really interested to see it. I think we need to look into What Dreams May Come.
Is that Robin Williams?
Yeah, it's Robin Williams. And so what happens is he's like a doctor. It's actually like, I almost feel like Grey's Anatomy rips this idea off where, I mean, it's happened in other places, I'm sure. But so like he's this doctor who gets out to try and help this woman who's been in a car crash in the middle of like this tunnel in, I don't know if it's in New York or what, but like he's trying to help this woman and then some other car like is flying off the rails, crazy, ends up like hitting him and killing him also. So he's dead. But he's also like in this really sweet and romantic relationship with his wife, Annie, something like that. I need to watch this movie. I'm very excited to. But like the idea is that he's in heaven and like he's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s there telling him like, hey, anything you can imagine, like it's here. Like you can have anything you want. This is what heaven is. Like you can fly. You can create any type of like plant or whatever. This is like a place where there's no pain or sadness or whatever, but he keeps thinking about his wife and he's like, well, this isn't heaven to me without my wife. So like she ends up committing suicide and because of it going to hell, I think. So like he's literally trying to traverse from heaven to hell just to find his wife and be with her. It's like,
wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
So is that a comedy?
Yeah. It's they were actually trying to pitch it as a sequel to Flubber, and then
oh wait, that's he bounced high enough to get to heaven.
Yes,
Is that originally how it was.
Yeah, and he saw the Nutty Professor up there and whatever. Anyway, he had apparently the Nutty Professor had a heart attack.
Professor.
Don't you feel like that's what Flubber kind of was? I mean, like I know that
it was the absent-minded professor.
Like okay, but what are you talking about? Flubber the actual movie or what?
Flubber the actual movie, yes.
Okay, but like you know the movie
was a
The
remake,
Nutty Professor,
yes,
with Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just like talking about him seeing Eddie Murphy up there because I think it'd be funny because they're both scientists or whatever.
Okay, but you do know that Flubber is like a remake of The Absent-Minded Professor with Jerry Lewis from like the 50s.
Okay, sure. But, I mean, is it still the same character as the Nutty Professor guy or no?
I'm just going to make you watch
I just don't know why you're stepping on my toes over this necessarily.
Well, I was
Are they the same character or not?
No.
So they could theoretically see each other in heaven if
I'm sure they could.
If the absent-minded professor bounced high enough into heaven on Flubber. He could
find Buddy Love or whatever his name is.
Is that his name?
Well, that's his alter ego.
Oh, that's what he like. Yeah, that's his Stefan Urkel of Stephen Urkel, kind of like, I'm a nerd, now I'm cool. Or now I'm not fat, I'm in shape and awesome. So this kind of took a left turn. Anyway, like that's
that's really, I mean, I would watch that movie, but it's kind of
watch
like,
it with Michelle. Don't watch it with me. Like,
I mean, I don't really want to like cuddle with you
unless you're gonna like hold hands or whatever the whole time.
But so that's depressing. I mean, especially knowing what happened to Robin Williams, but also rewatching World's Greatest Dad was very depressing too, because like this is a movie where a guy's son hanged himself.
And then, like, he has to basically retcon the situation to try and get people to pretend like his son wasn't a total and complete piece of shit.
Yeah, and he like wrote this memoir, and everyone's pretended to be the best friends with his son, who was a pariah.
And it's really sad, also because he's like been trying to have this writing career the whole time, where no one takes him seriously. But then he writes these memoirs of his dead son, and everyone takes him really seriously. And it's like,
and no one
talking about
realizes
getting published, and right, exactly.
And at the very end, it's like, it's like when Michael Scott won that award in The Office, but he made someone else take the blame because he thought he was going to get in trouble. And at the very end, he's like, "No, I actually did it." And that's pretty much what Robin Williams did. He's like, "Well, you know, screw you guys. I wrote the memoir. My son was a piece of shit. I hate all of you." And that's like the end of the movie. It's a great movie.
It's super random. He like strips naked while running through the halls and then like jumps into a pool.
It was supposed to be like a metaphor
of him like not giving any cares anymore.
Yeah,
but
and
like
it's a Bobcat Goldthwait movie.
Oh, I think it's brilliant,
really
honestly. And like, I don't know that I'm going to watch it again. Like, I've watched it a couple times at this point.
Same here.
It's definitely like a dark comedy, and Bobcat Goldthwait is pretty hilarious. Like, he also has God Bless America.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man, that movie's really great, too, though.
He did another one, too. I can't remember what it was, but I'm thinking of Red State, which was Kevin Smith. But Bobcat has a very dark, dry sense of humor. And if you walk into World's Greatest Dad thinking it's a comedy, you'll be disappointed.
I don't know that you will, though. Like, there are definitely parts of it that are funny.
Yeah, but you need to have sort of like a...
Well, it's not going to be like walking into Dumb and Dumber, though.
Or Grown Ups, too. You need to have a patient...
There are very few circumstances in life that are like walking into Grown Ups, too.
You need to have a patient, dry sense of humor in order to get World's Greatest Dad. It's a great movie. But also depressing in retrospect when you see that, you know, Robin Williams ended up hanging himself too.
Well, yeah, but I think it's one of these movies that's like, and I appreciate it for life is beautiful even when it's sad. Like sometimes even when life takes some dark turns and it's like really traumatic or terrifying or whatever, like there are parts of anything that are ironic. There are parts of it that are just, you know, in a way like poetic and beautiful, like even, and like things that are really sad. Like, yeah, that movie does a good job of like, at the end of the movie, he ends up kind of talking to his neighbor and like has this little group of people, like they're friends from basically like what's happened in this whole thing. It's a good movie.
They all get together. I think they watch like Kung Fu or something.
They watch some really terrible like B movie, like and eat pizza or whatever.
Like, he realizes
and smoke weed. I think.
He realizes that like his girlfriend is basically a piece of shit who just wants to kind of ride on the coattails of someone that she thinks is successful.
Right. Because like that's kind of the other undeveloped plot line too. Is like she isn't really giving him much of a chance until all of a sudden he has kind of a level of success, or
like,
is showing.
She was like flirting with this other teacher who was younger and more attractive.
Yeah,
than
and
him,
like has played on a basketball team.
He was
and stuff.
dumber than a box of rocks. But like she wanted nothing to do with Robin Williams until he was famous,
and also kind of loved him out of pity of his son being and stuff too.
So it felt very gratifying to see him at the very end say, "Screw you all. You didn't know who I was.
Man,
you never cared for me."
What a terrific actor! Because you see him in like different like parts of his career, and you're like, yeah, there's the Mork and Mindy stuff. There's some of like he's the genie from Aladdin. He's like a goofball. His style of stand-up comedy, if it can so be called. I'm not really a big fan of that. Is like kind of really off the wall and all over the place. And
I never cared for his specials.
But like, man, go back and watch Good Will Hunting and watch like I imagine What Dreams May Come and like
Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah, Dead Poet Society. Like he's got a lot of really good movies. You can just go back and look at like, man, this guy's got crazy acting chops, and he got his starts on Mork and Mindy. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's a very fine actor and very tortured soul, I guess.
Evidently, I mean,
but he played a lot of tortured characters too.
He did, but then he also played a lot of like the genie. I mean, like he really did. He was back and forth. I think really, depression might be one thing, but maybe you could call him bipolar. Like I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, but like he played. They talk a lot about. Have you seen The Watchmen? Or
yes,
sorry, just Watchmen.
Yeah.
Rorschach tells that joke about this guy goes to the psychologist or whatever because he's depressed, and the guy tells him, "Oh, well, the solution is simple. Go to this carnival. The great clown Pagliacci is in town performing, and he'll lift your spirits." And he goes, "But doctor, I am Pagliacci." Like, I think that's kind of the way that a lot of comedians work. Like, you have to be in a really depressed place to really find comedy.
Oh, yeah. Look at how many comedians out there have their life together and everything is fine, and they're aside from like the hack jobs like Dane Cook or the people that
Gabriel Iglesias or like I see that like Carlos Mencia.
yeah, but I mean, or the Jeff Dunn.
Jeff Dunham, like kind of a.
But I'm talking like, and forgive me if I'm bringing up a comic who actually has it together, but. There are people like look at Bill
Burr,
not Bill Burr, whatever the guy who died. Look at Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know you're talking about that. I just can't think of the dude's name. I've never been Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks, yeah. Who's he was very political, kind of turned me off, but he was very tortured. Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg's a big one.
Not Bobcat, but there was Sam Kinison. He started out as a preacher.
Really?
Yeah, and became a comic, and just he couldn't take being a pastor anymore, and he just became like very much like an anti-religion comic, and he actually ended up getting killed in a drunk driving incident.
Pete Holmes, he's a podcaster. He has You Made It Weird.
Is he the guy that's like younger than us?
He's probably the same age as Joel.
Is he the guy whose dad died in 9/11?
Joel being like the third wheel of Enlightened Gamer. If you're not here from Enlightened Gamer, he's kind of a co-host in some of our other podcasts, and he hosts the New 66. But he basically went to like a Christian college and like got married early and then divorced, and like so he's got like he basically hit an intersection in his life where he's like, well, I can either become a youth pastor or a comedian. Like those were the two skill sets he felt like he had. So. He's kind of an interesting dude too. That just when you were talking about Sam Kinison,
and, a lot of these people don't have it together, but they entertain people.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Louis C.K. too.
That was the example I was going to. He talks all the time about how he doesn't have his life together. He doesn't really know how to be an adult.
Family is a wreck.
Right. But like, you wonder how much of that has to be true because he's joking about it. But at the same time, like, I think his jokes just come from a place of truth.
And I think that he's kind of a scumbag. But then you look at Howard Stern too. Like, his life is not very put together.
You think Louis is a scumbag?
Huh?
You said you think Louis is a scumbag?
No. No, there are
Howard
allegations
Stern.
that he is. I'm saying that Howard Stern is a bit of a scumbag.
Oh, he for sure is. I haven't heard anything about Louis C.K. What are people saying about him?
Oh, just there are allegations that he's exposed himself to females in his hotel room, stuff like that.
Yeah, really?
Nothing is substantiated. So, people just love to jump on bandwagons. But like, I think if someone commits a crime, then like call the police, file a police report, and stop doing these Twitter wars.
Right, yeah. Like, I feel really bad for Bill Cosby. Like, how many women have jumped on this bandwagon now? Trying to, like, run his name through the muck. And...
See, I think that's a different story.
Oh, so when you hit, like, the triple figures of substantiated claims, maybe there's some truth to it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a case-by-case basis. But
Not
I think in today's day and age,
handful.
you get the social justice patrol who just, they see an allegation, they jump all over it.
Yeah, and there's too many people who are ready to like try and catch a story like that and run with it too, like your TMZ kind of thing or whatever. So
and there's like this super cringy moment. I saw an interview with who's the guy from the Daily Show? Jon Stewart. Yeah, he was doing an interview or like a open forum at a college, and the last question, of course, is a kid saying, "How come you stand behind your friend Louis C.K. when he's got all these allegations?" And, Jon Stewart says, "I honestly don't know what you're talking about. And like, go take you and your fedora back whence you came from." And,
right.
But like,
way to go, you white knight, for bringing that topic to the,
thanks for bringing up unfounded allegations.
To happen.
Which, it's very possible that something like that could have happened.
Here's the problem with allegations and the way that the United States criminal system works. And this is no longer Let's Talk Movies, I guess. But, like, think about...
Let's talk law, I guess.
So, like, if you're accused of rape in the United States, like, that's the story. And people run away with it. And, like, your name's out there, like, you've been alleged to have raped this person or some kind of sexual crime.
And if you are a rapist, you deserve to be a pariah.
Right.
That is a fact, because... rape's terrible. But the thing that sucks is that some people have realized, oh, wait, we can ruin people's lives by just making allegations.
By even talking about it.
Yeah. And I think that sucks.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. Like, I mean, so...
But at the same time, we need to find better ways to prosecute, collect evidence, find better ways to...
But people in general, like, I think your name... Like, so in other countries, your name and stuff isn't released until you're found guilty. Like, so people don't have to live their entire life.
You got your mugshot, you got the allegations in the news. And,
right.
And
like,
it doesn't matter if you're found guilty.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if OJ was acquitted or not. Everyone's like, he's guilty. He did it.
Yeah, that's true. Because they saw what they wanted to see on the media.
Yeah.
And they ignored what they didn't want to see.
They were skewed,
confirmation biased.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, basically, long and the short, comedians are a very tortured bunch.
With that in mind, we'll be covering a couple different Robin Williams movies in our next podcast. Maybe. I don't know.
And if we return, we'll be doing something else.
I can't. What do you want to commit to if we're doing for our next episode, John? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about Strange Brew versus Wayne's World.
I think that's a great idea, personally.
Strange Brew versus Wayne's World.
Yeah, 1. I think Strange Brew is kind of like the Canadian Wayne's World. It's my take.
It is. It came out about 7 years before Wayne's World, or no more than that, 8 years.
Yeah, but it's based on like kind of Canada's SNL. Did you know that?
They have an SNL?
Yeah, I forget what the name of the show was.
Is that what the very beginning was?
Northern Exposure or Great... Yeah, what's the name of that show? Because that's what it is.
Northern Exposure, I think.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that's kind of the sketch comedy group that I think...
They'll start throwing their popcorn at the screen.
And then they let the moths go, which I think is like one of the funniest parts of that movie.
Well, yeah, because people think it's like a biological weapon. Like they're running out screaming when they see the moth. They don't realize that the master plan is for the moths to go to the projector to block the movie and get a free refund.
I don't even know if it's that well developed. I think the joke is that people think, oh, I thought the joke was like people thought there were giant moths in the studio. I'll be honest, the last time I saw Strange Brew was probably 5 years ago or more, and I'm excited to go watch it again. And we'll definitely have to discuss. Like Wayne's World's something you're pretty familiar with, but
yes.
Strange Brew is just like a whole nother animal. And I think it's really funny, especially now that I have a better idea of like what's not really Canadian culture, but what's stereotypical Canadian culture?
It's just the way they talk, not even like A and a boob. But just
like
the stupid, obviously they're making fun of
they're
a certain
putting on
subculture of their people.
An absolute hoser is what you'd call it, kind of like archetype.
It's what we would call like trailer trash, what Australians would call bogans.
Right.
It's the Canadian hoser who just lives off of Molson Canadian and hockey, works minimum wage jobs, and he just sounds like an idiot when they
that movie's like way funnier now that I'm remembering all the different parts in it than I give it credit for, and I'm excited to go watch it again. So I think, let's call our next episode Strange Brew versus Wayne's World. And I think I'm going to be trying to argue for the side of Strange Brew, possibly being the better movie.
It's possible, and I'll probably be arguing for Wayne's World 2 as being the better of the three.
There's 3 movies. I thought you meant like there's 3 Wayne's World. I was like, I'm way behind. All right. I'll allow Wayne's World 2. That's fine. And with that, I guess you'll have that to look forward to, and we'll see you next time.